good girl they pay. Now when you never experience it, now advice go through your mouth. Don't be too quick to say it can never be me, because it can be you like mad. It can be you like mad. So at some point in my life, I started to have questions. I started to feel cheated by God, because what do you mean I have done all these things? I have lived my life in this particular way, hoping that there will be a reward at the end, and I'm not seeing anything. God is not a money doubler. Hi everyone, my name is Progress Oberiko, and welcome to the With Progress Oberiko channel. Today is a very interesting one. So this video is for people who have been the good girl or the good guy all their lives, people who have strived all their lives to tick boxes, to keep the commandments, to do all the right things, and yet they feel like nothing is happening. Like, is it worth it? This good girl thing they pay, good girl they pay. This video is for you. So let me start by sharing a quick background story about myself. I used to be, and still am in some way, I used to be a very religious person. Some people would call it the church girl or the church guy. That was me. I am the kind of person that if you are my friend, you will know the kind of person I am. Like, I don't need to tell you I don't like this. Like, you already know because of how I behave or because of the kind of values and standards that I hold myself to. I am the kind of person that would stand out in a crowd, and I do not mind being the only one doing certain things. So for example, while I was in school and during exam time and people were maybe scraping their desk to write the answers, or they were carrying sheets of papers or doing some form of malpractice, I will not do it. If you like, let the exam be the most difficult, I will write what I know and go away. That's how strict I was in my belief and in my desire to please God and not to do anything that would offend him. And I also used to be that person that, if everyone in my circle is dating, I'm okay to be the single one. I'm okay to be the one that is just like, well, I'm not ready yet, or I've not found a person yet. Like, I don't date casually. Like, saying all of this to say that I'm a very strict person. I've always been a very strict person, strict with my lifestyle, strict with my life choices. But then that lifestyle or that mentality or that behavior did two things to me. First, it made me very judgmental of others, number one. And then secondly, it also made me very entitled to God. Judgmental, the first one, I was quite judgmental of other people in the sense that I could not really understand why people committed certain sins. I could not really understand why it was easy for me to discipline myself, why it was easy for me to, see that thing is bad and just hold myself from doing it. Whereas for others, it wasn't. I could not really understand why certain people did certain things that I would consider condemnable or sinful, right? So in my small brain, in my 20s, I was quite judgmental. I look at people and be like, that can never be me. That can never be me. Like, it made me not be as empathetic as I should have been. It made me to almost be this holier thou person, this very self-righteous person, self-conscious person, right? As if salvation is personal and, everybody has to be saved the way I was saved. But on my journey, on my Christian journey, especially as I moved into my 30s, I started to learn a lot deeper about life. And God started to teach me that even that self-discipline that I thought I had, even that being a good girl that I thought I was, it wasn't by my strength. It wasn't by my grace. It wasn't by my own effort. It wasn't because I was the most serious student. That was why I was reading and things were entering. That was why I didn't do malpractice. It wasn't because I was the most strong self-disciplined person. That was why I didn't fall in certain areas that I judged others in, right? It was because God helped me. It was because God's grace was upon me. It was because of God's mercy, not because of my grace, not because of my own strength, right? And I had to learn this. I learned this almost in a hard way. There was an experience that I had that made me quite reflective, and I decided to think that, one, perhaps the reason why I was very quick to judge others who did certain things was because I had not been in their situation, right? I think there's a pidgin adage that says, now when you never experience it, now advice go through your mouth, right? When you have not gone through a certain hardship, you have, oh, pray about it, do this, go to this place, do that. But when it is happening to you, then you begin to gain understanding. Then you begin to become more empathetic and see from other people's lenses how they felt or why they did what they did. Now, this is not to say that anybody committing sin is justified or that sin is justifiable. No, but to recognize that we are all living by grace, that we are all living by the grace of God, that even that goodness that you think you have, it is not by your grace, it is by the grace of God. And I think I was saying this to a mentee recently who was like saying something similar to me. So she came to me and she was like, oh, why is it that certain people find it difficult to discipline themselves? Why is it that certain people find it difficult to just not to do certain things? That for her, it can never be her. Like, she can never do this, she can never do that. And then because I've walked that path before, I had to quickly pull her over and say, hey, baby girl, relax. Don't be too quick to say it can never be me, because it can be you like mad. It can be you like mad. You will be so shocked the way it will be you, right? So I think that's why they say never, right? Even as you strive to be faithful, to do all the things, it is sheer arrogance for you to assume that your righteousness is by your strength, because it can be you like mad. It can be you because maybe because you have not been in their situation, particularly their situation. That's why you haven't fallen. Or maybe the grace that is on you is not particularly on them. That's why you haven't fallen. So if you begin to boast by your strength, just wait and let God remove his hand or remove his grace, and you will see how you will fall. You see how you will fall, like they push you. You will fall woefully. So I had to help her to understand through my experience that it is not by your grace. It's not by your strength. It's not by your power. Not be you too no book pass. Not be you too hold yourself pass. Not be you too they self-discipline pass. It is not by your strength. It is by the grace and the mercy of God. It is by the grace and the mercy of God. And I also remember telling her that sometimes in our lives, as I have seen in mine, God preserves us from certain things. God preserves us from experiencing certain things because maybe we have been consecrated to him, maybe because he wants to use us in other interesting ways, and that's why he's preserving us. Maybe because he wants to preserve our history or our history with him. That's why he's not allowing us to experience that thing. It's not because we are the holiest or we are the most righteous or because we are the most steadfast. No, it is by the grace and mercy of God. So do not assume that God's preservation over your life is by your strength. Don't now start taking credit for what God is doing in your life because you believe now you strong pass. Because you believe you are the strongest, you are the most faithful, you are the most loyal, you are the better Christian. No. Boast in Christ, boast in Jesus Christ. And I wrote this, I shared my story, actually, my journey into Christianity and everything in my book that is coming. And you read a lot, it's very powerful. So that's the first part. My self-righteousness made me very judgmental. Now, the second part is that my self-righteousness made me quite entitled. So, when you've done all the right things, you've kept the commandments, you've done all the right things, keep yourself, do. And then you start to expect for things to magically fall in place, for everything to start going right, because you've been the good girl, you've been the good boy, and that's not happening. So at some point in my life, I started to have questions. I started to feel cheated by God, because what do you mean I have done all these things? I have lived my life in this particular way, hoping that there will be a reward at the end, and I'm not seeing anything. I'm here to tell you that doing the right thing does not guarantee a reward at the end. And I wrote this in my book as well. And I'm saying this because this is something I learned in my 30s as well. Maybe in your case, you feel like, oh, you have kept yourself, your body, you have not slept with any woman or with any man. And so for that reason, God owes you a good life partner. God owes you a good man. God owes you a good woman. Or because you married as a virgin, so you should have children quite easily. Like, that's a no-brainer. Why are you struggling to have children? Why are you 5, 10, 3 years into your marriage and you still have no children yet? What kind of God is this? Like, make it make sense. Maybe that is you. Maybe your case is, when your mates were cheating in school, they were doing malpractice and getting all the A's, you just relied on your brain and on God and believed that, you're going to write what you know, and you don't want to get involved in malpractice. You've been this faithful student academically. And then you finish and realize that you don't even have a job after keeping the law, after doing all the right things. Maybe you are working in this company where you had the opportunity to steal and you would have not been caught, right? To compromise, to join the party, or to, follow a particular group to do something bad, but you did not do it. And you're expecting that, at the end, you're going to maybe be walking on the road one day and then you find money magically on the road, and that would have been your reward for being the good guy or for being the good girl. Or somebody would have just called you and given you money, and that would have been your reward. That's not how we operate with God. And that's not how God operates with us, right? Our relationship with God should not be a tit for tat. Should not be a give or take. You did not steal in that company when you had the opportunity to, because not stealing is the right thing to do. Because not taking that money that is not yours, not defrauding someone, is the right thing to do. You kept your body before marriage. You married a virgin. You did that because that is the right thing to do. You did that because you wanted to please God. You did that because you love God. You did not do that because you are expecting a reward at the end. You did not. It's almost like you are giving God this, and I know God, you will double it. God is not a money doubler. So if you are striving on the path of being the good girl, know that whether or not this good girl pay, you will still be happy with being a good girl. Whether or not this good boy, where they do pay, you will still be happy with being a good boy. Like, it's almost like, I think there's this example that people give when they say, imagine you lived a good life on earth, you did all the right things, and then you died and realized that there is no heaven or hell. How would you feel? There is no loss. It is still a win-win, because you lived your life the right way, the way it should be lived. You kept your body because your body is a temple of God. Not because God owes you a good woman at the end or a good man at the end of your life when you're ready to marry, right? So do not approach God from a place of entitlement, from a place of, God, I've done this. How about you? You did it because you love God. You did it because it is the right thing to do. And I said this in my book as well. Righteousness is our natural habitat. Righteousness is the right state to exist in. We are supposed to be righteous, right? Sin is not our natural state. So when you refuse to sin, you are just doing the normal thing. You are just being natural, right? But when you now sin is when you go out of the natural. So righteousness is the right thing to do. So why are you expecting a reward? Why are you leading with that expectation at the end? Yes, whatever you do something bad, it will come back to you. You reap what you sow, right? Yes, that still applies. But then approach God or do the right thing or serve God, be the good girl and the good boy, because that's the right thing to do, because you choose to honor God, because there's a desire in you to serve and to please God with your life, not because you have an expectation at the end. Okay, let's say you did all the right thing in school and then you finished and then there's no job. Does it mean you stop serving God? Does it mean you stop being the good boy? It's just like a husband saying, oh, I'm not going to cheat because I want my wife to be good to me. Not cheating is your responsibility as a husband by default, right? Not cheating is your responsibility as a husband by default. So you not cheating on your wife is nothing to be rewarded. It's not an extra thing that you have done. That is the right thing to do. You have made a covenant to be with one woman, and so should it be, right? So not involving in sex or doing all these bad things is not in expectation of something good to happen, right? So when you approach God still from a place of mercy. And that was something I had to learn, because that state of self-righteousness almost made me become like that Pharisee in the Bible. I think it is in the book of Luke. That Pharisee who went to the synagogue in the church, right? And he was praying to God, and then there was a tax collector behind him. But when this Pharisee was praying, he was praying to God and say, oh God, look, I have kept all my commandments. I pay my tithes. I do all the right things. I am not like that guy behind who is a sinner, a tax collector that cheats people. I am not like him. Whereas the tax collector behind is there. He's not even able to lift his head up. His head is down and he's like remorseful in his heart, and he's saying, God, show me mercy. I am not even worthy to be in your presence, right? And guess whose prayer God answered? That man, the prayer of a broken heart, right? I think the Bible also says a humble and a contrite heart he will not spurn. A humble and a contrite heart he will not spurn. Like God will not despise a humble and a repentant heart who comes to him. So that is how we should approach God, because even the Bible also says that a righteous man sins how many times? 7 times. So even in that your acclaimed self-righteousness, you are a sinner, either by omission or by commission. There are things that you are inside your house, you are not committing sin, you are keeping yourself, but you have a toxic trait. You have something, you are impatient, you are judgmental, you are still committing sin, even in that your self-acclaimed self-righteousness, right? So a righteous man sins 7 times. So if you feel like you are too holy, you have done all the right things, and so now God owes you something in return, think of that Pharisee and that tax collector and start to rewire your mindset to learn to approach God from a place of mercy and grace. Because everything you think you have, all you are and all you have are from God. All I am and all I have are from God. It is by his mercy. He may have chosen to preserve me for himself during a particular phase of my life. That does not mean that was my effort. Every step I took at that point in time was ordered. Like even now when I look at my 20s, there are some places I went to. Like normally if maybe a young girl goes there, something bad would have happened to her. But there are some places I went to naively, but God protected me. It wasn't because I had this. It wasn't me. It was God. It was God shielding me. It was God guiding me. It was God protecting and preserving me. It was God's mercy all along. So it will be mere arrogance for me to now wake up and say, well, I was a good girl. No, it's not by my strength. It's not by my strength. It is by the grace and the mercy of God. And as the Bible says, his mercy is sufficient for us. I want to read a phrase. So today is Sunday, and the second reading we read today in church reflects exactly what I'm saying. And it is from the book of 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 20, right? And it says, for what credit is there if you endure the beatings you deserve for having done wrong? For what credit is there if you endure the beatings you deserve for having done wrong? But if you endure suffering, even when you have done right, God will bless you for it. So, what blessing is there? What is there to boast about if you have done the right things, if you have been the good girl all your life? What is there? That's the right thing to do. But if even after being the good girl, after doing all the right things, and then things are not falling in place, you are suffering, you are being persecuted, you are going through hard times, there's a reward at the end. And it goes further to say that it was to this that God called you. It was to this that God called you, right? It was to this that God called you. For Christ himself suffered for you and left you an example so that you would follow in his steps. For Christ himself suffered for you and left you an example. You remember when they say, if to be my disciples, you have to carry my cross and follow me. So even in Christianity, even in following Christ, there is a cross to carry. It doesn't promise to be a rosy journey, right? So even Christ, who was this sinless man who came to earth, he didn't do anything, didn't deserve the kind of death that he got at the end. He still was persecuted. Christ was sinless. He had no sin in him, but he was still persecuted. He was still killed like an unrighteous man. He was still shamed, disgracefully killed even. So how much more us, if Christ, who was the most righteous man, could go through all of this? Talk more of you, because you have done one or two things and feel like, oh, you have kept all the commandments, you have ticked all the boxes, you have been the good boy all your life, you have not done wrong, you have not sold your body, you have not stolen anything in your entire life. That means you are now mates with God. That means you now deserve everything. Even Christ was not spared. Even Christ did not boast. I think it's in Philippians that says, though he was God, he did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped. Though he was God, Christ was fully God and fully man, fully divine and fully human. But he did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped. He did not come to earth boasting, I am God, obey me, I am God. Like, he was human to the core. He led the life of service, of humility, going around doing good, healing the sick and doing all these different things. And yet he still suffered at the end, killed by human beings, right? So sharing this for someone out there to rethink how you approach God, right? And this might be the reason why we experience certain delays when we make requests to God. Because when you go to God fully justified, fully proud, and say, yes, I am your child, I have come, God might just look at you and be like, you're not ready. Yeah, there's still a lot for you to learn. There's still a lot for you to do what to learn. And I had this learning curve in my life as well, going from that self-righteous person to becoming someone who is more empathetic with people. I'm not judgmental. When I see people, like, humans are humans. I am more empathetic, more understanding. I don't encourage people to stay or thrive in sin, but I am more empathetic. I am more understanding. Not because I have been there. I don't even have to be there. I don't even have to have been in their shoes to understand it. But because I understand that even that grace of being the good girl that I believe I have, it is not my effort. It is by the grace of God. It is by the mercy of God. And I pray that God extends that to them as well. So it is not in my place to judge them, because what I have, not me even get them. It's not my effort, right? So, and also the part of being entitled is like you've cleaned your room. You wake up in the morning, you clean your room, and then you are expecting someone to praise you for it, or you're expecting something in return. Cleaning your room is the right thing to do. Cleaning your room is the right thing to do as an adult, right? So we should not approach God from a place of like forcefully demanding something, like from a place of pride and arrogance and entitlement. No, rather we should approach God from a place of mercy, understanding that all that we have and are by his grace. And that is what I wanted to quickly share in this video today. I hope I touched everything I wanted to share. So if this sounds like you, or if this really touched you in one way or the other, please do leave a comment. If you have been through this yourself and you have come out wiser and and better, maybe understanding God better, do leave a comment as well. And please don't forget to like, share, subscribe to this video. So yeah, I think I'll stop here. Thank you so much for watching, and bye bye.